Welcome everybody back to another ProGuides video. My name is Trey and today we're starting a new series. This series is going to be all about bad habits. Every player who touches the game has bad habits and fixing them can be really difficult. Anyone who says they don't have any is either lying or clueless because everyone has them, even some pro players. That in itself already indicates though that it's not just as easy as knowing what you're doing is wrong and stopping. Habits are hard to break and you will need to consciously spend time on them, but first you have to know what they are and what you need to improve on. This series is going to be focusing on just that though, finding out what bad habits you might have and going over how to fix them. So if you're ready to learn, make sure you have your notebook out and start writing down some notes. Before we do that though, we do have our daily ritual, our question of the day, and luckily for you, today we got a great one. Namely, what is the bad habit you are most proud of breaking? For me personally, it's gotta be stopping with my overspraying and truly developing my aim by going for more headshots. But what about you? Let us know in the comments. I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say. Let's get started by talking about these bad habits, starting with blaming your teammates. Blaming your teammates is the #1 way to delay your improvement. So if you're looking to stay in gold nova for the rest of your life, that's the way to go. Seriously though, blaming anyone other than yourself for your losses will allow you to have excuses for yourself when you really shouldn't have. Sure, sometimes you will be right, and your teammate definitely did throw the round, or sometimes all your teammates are truly just, quite simply put, terrible, but somehow you're still in the same rank as them, so think about why that's the case. If you were perfect, you'd probably be on the best team right now, winning every event and being the MVP for all of them. Of course, that doesn't mean that that's an all realistic expectation, nor that you should be that hard on yourself. But it does mean that you're far from perfect even if you are a pro player, let alone if you're just some matchmaking scrub. Being humble and holding yourself accountable for losses is key in order to motivate yourself to become a better player. You always want to strive to be the best player you can be. Anyone has the potential to become a pro if they put enough time into it. Sure, you might not be the best player the game has ever seen because natural talent is also a contributing factor, but most players don't even work hard themselves. They don't strive to be the best they can, and they most definitely do not give it their all. If you are one of those few people that do, and you keep practicing because you realize you're far from perfect and far from your maximum potential, you'll improve. There's this thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is a great thing to research for yourself, so I'd highly recommend you look into it after this video. But what it basically comes down to is that once you start with something new, at first you'll realize that you're a beginner and thus start learning a bit about the skill. But once you get it down slightly, you gain high levels of confidence and start thinking you know exactly what to do and feeling you know all there is to know about it. When in reality, you only know about 10%, but you're confident like you know the subject 200% regardless. Once you continue to learn more and more about the subject, you start to realize that there's so much more to learn and your confidence dips, and after that, it'll steadily but surely come back as you get better. When you're anywhere from silver to master guardian ranks, seeing people with extreme confidence thinking they deserve to be global is very common. Sometimes when we make a video specifically on how to get out of silver or lower ranks in general, we get comments about how we don't understand what silver is like, or how silver is more difficult than global, or even how someone is silver but plays like global. And in reality, there's only cheaters, bad teammates, and God knows what else is holding them back. If you have such a mentality and blame anyone but yourself, I hate to break it to you, but you're never going to get anywhere in CSGO. So if you at all recognize yourself having this attitude, then you should try to break this habit as soon as possible in order to get humble and start improving again. So how come this prevents you from improving in the first place? Well, blaming teammates or anything other than yourself for losses, rank, or current skill level will blind you from seeing what's really the case, and will not motivate you to become better. Some of the best players always think they have more to learn. Maybe you heard from a friend that plays CSGO as well, that they think they are so bad, while in reality, you know they're much better than you. This is the Dunning-Kruger effect showing itself in full effect. They're better than you, but because of that, they see their own flaws better, and have a better idea of what they need to improve on more. So as soon as they start playing, they think of themselves in this pessimistic, although realistic way, and are very motivated to improve on the areas of their game they see as being horrible still. For myself, I am a CSGO Global Elite, so I'm a little bit above the average, but at the same time, I know there's a bunch of players better than me in a lot of areas, and I know for one, my aim is still a big area of potential improvement. If I play against Global Elite matchmaking players, I can beat them easily and will be able to out-aim them. But at the same time, I know pros and semi-pros are still miles above my current skill level, and the only way to get to a similar level is to stay humble, stay realistic, and practice upon my weak points. I was once in silver too, and if I think back about that time, I still vividly remember how much confidence I had. It was unfounded confidence, but it was confidence nonetheless. And I most definitely know that if back then I didn't realize that I wasn't perfect, and it wasn't just my teammates holding me back, then I never would have improved as much as I did. Another big thing that will greatly impact you and will cause you to lose many games is being toxic, especially on the mic. Toxicity on the mic will usually result in your whole team getting tilted. We all know what happens when we get tilted. We start doubting ourselves, start doing stupid stuff, stop communicating, and some people might even legitimately start throwing. Starting to get tilted only ever results in you losing more and thus becoming more and more tilted. If you ever watched a pro tournament that was a big win or a heavy loss toward either side, you can clearly see the difference in the player's facial expression that they're losing, and you will definitely see once they're getting tilted. Oftentimes when players get interviewed, they'll talk about problems like once they're losing, they stop communicating and only start losing and getting tilted more because of it. Communication is so important in Counter-Strike, especially at higher levels where you can't just rely on out-aiming everyone, and team play is a must. Comms diminishing is just one of the many negative aspects of tilting, although the only one we're going to be focusing on right now is if you or one of your teammates is toxic in the voice chat. Staying positive and communicating energetically, quickly, and effectively becomes more and more difficult, and you'll start to feel the comms slipping away further and further until they're at a point where no one is speaking anymore. And the only use voice chat is getting is by those players screaming at you what an idiot you are or your teammates are. Because the comms are lacking, you'll be guaranteed to lose easy rounds that would have been winnable with even slight communication. Because of that, players will slowly get tilted and ta-da, you lost your game. Yelling at your teammate might be tempting, especially if stakes are very high, let's say if it's your rank up game, but it could very well lose you the game because the next round that player got yelled at is going to respond in one of two ways. Either he's going to talk back, or he'll get silent and start to feel bad about himself. If you find yourself wanting to say things that are toxic, establish what you're expecting to accomplish. Are you expecting it to make your teammates play better? Then you're wrong, and are in fact accomplishing the opposite. If you're expecting yourself to release some of the stress and anger you're building up, then yeah, that might work for you, but in return, you might just lose your team the game. So it's probably fair to say that it's not the ideal way. Thinking of another way to do that is therefore much advisable and something we can't recommend enough. A few examples that might work for you is doing push-ups once you feel you're getting tilted. This might sound crazy, but it will untilt you, while also getting you mad ripped. Or you could think of doing something else, maybe like slamming your desk. Personally, I like drinking water. I don't know why, but somehow it really helps me getting more relaxed and getting my head back into the game. Whatever works for you though, might not be that, maybe it's something completely different. The task is for you to find what the thing is and apply it to your games. All you need to do to turn a game around is to have enough players trying their best to win, communicating excitedly, and no toxic players holding everyone back. Really, what this bad habit comes down from is allowing yourself to be toxic or thinking of it being acceptable in any way. Toxicity should always be frowned upon no matter how good you are. If you have an attitude issue, you are holding your team back and making them play worse. If instead someone else on your team is toxic, defend the guy that got yelled at and then mute the toxic player. Defending that guy might prevent him from tilting and playing worse, and muting the toxic player obviously gets rid of his toxicity. That brings us to our final bad habit for today's episode, and that's letting toxic players lose you the game. I know what we've just talked about how bad toxicity is, and that's very much true of course. But like we said in tip 1, that shouldn't stop you from winning anyways. It takes tremendous emotional strength to keep an entire team going, especially if you're losing big time or if you have one of those toxic players on your team. That doesn't mean that it's impossible though, nor that you should let it stop you. Everyone has lost numerous games, and a lot of them are because of tilting and toxicity. So if you can minimize the effect of toxic players have on your games, then you'll eventually rank up and you'll also be a much better player. Being nice to everyone, and yeah, even that toxic guy, might be a big pain in your behind, and honestly, the guy doesn't even deserve to win the game. But at the end of the day, if you're looking to rank up, that doesn't matter. Not in the slightest even. All that really matters is how you're going to react to them and if you are going to win the game. And trust me, I've been there. I personally have a burning passion against toxic players, and I despise them. But at some point I've realized that it doesn't matter if they're going to be toxic the next game. I don't have to make them a better player. I don't have to teach them how to communicate properly. All that matters is that I'm going to win the game we're in together at that exact moment. Before, I always got really mad at toxic players and tried to make them even just as angry as I was by making fun of them, saying how their lives must be pathetic and that they feel the need to be toxic in a video game. And although I felt they deserved to be made fun of and deserved to lose the game, I also wasn't winning those games. Nowadays, I always try being a nice human as much as possible to everyone, and even if somebody has brought me a lot of grief in one of those toxic games, I just move on, content with my win. That way I won the game, getting the elo I needed and ranking up, and that guy still loses albeit the next game. Not letting these toxic players affect you and your games and staying positive, maybe even being the hype man of the team, is extremely difficult and costs a lot of energy, but it also ends up with you winning more games and leaving with more ELO. Well guys, that'll be all for now, but make sure to let us know what you guys thought about it in the comments down below, as we're planning to make a whole lot more of this video series. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified once the next episode comes out. Trust me, you wouldn't want to miss it. In addition, also make sure to check out ProGuides.com. We've got some great guides on there, one of which is made by Simple himself, so we definitely recommend you checking that out. But aside from that, we also offer some of the world's best coaching out there, so that you can become the best player you possibly can be. With all that being said, I wish you the best of luck improving, and I'm looking forward to seeing you back in the next episode.